A mafia boss took in a woman with nowhere else to go. But this act of power will unleash a dangerous war and force him to choose between his cold empire and the one person who made him feel warmth. If you're new here, subscribe and comment your location. Now, let's begin. The rain fell hard on the expensive car. Inside, Don Vittorio stared out the window. His men called him the Reaper. He was a man made of ice. Next to him, his driver, Paul, was quiet. No one spoke to Vittorio unless he spoke first. The car turned onto their street. It was a street of big, quiet houses. But something was wrong. A small figure was sitting on the steps of Vittorio's giant iron gate. The figure was curled up, getting wet. "Stop the car," Vittorio said. His voice was low and cold. Paul stopped. Vittorio looked. It was a young woman. She had a small, wet suitcase next to her. Her head was on her knees and her shoulders shook. She was crying. "Who is that?" Vittorio asked. He did not like people on his property. Paul looked nervous. "I think, Don Vittorio, I think that is the girl for Mr. Johnson. From next door, the one he was always talking about, the mail-order bride." Vittorio remembered. His neighbour, a loud, foolish man, had bragged about a young wife coming from Europe. He had paid for her to come. "And why is she on my steps?" Vittorio's voice was dangerous. "I don't know, sir," Paul said. Vittorio got out of the car. The rain soaked his expensive coat. He walked to the gate. The girl heard his footsteps and looked up. Vittorio felt something strange in his chest. Her face was pale. Her eyes, a soft brown, were red from crying. She looked terrified. She was just a girl. Maybe in her early 20s. "Who are you?" he asked. She flinched at his voice. I am Anya," she whispered. "I am for Mr. Johnson, from next door." "Why are you here?" He came to the airport. He saw me. He said I was not what he expected. He said I was too plain. He told me to go away. He left me there. I had his address. I took a taxi. But when I got here, he would not open the door. He shouted from the window to leave." Her words tumbled out between sobs. "The taxi left. I have no money. I have nowhere to go." She looked at the ground. "I am sorry. I did not know where else to sit. The rain. It is too heavy." Vittorio looked at the house next door. The curtains were closed. He felt a cold anger. This was disrespectful. It made the whole street look messy. It was disorderly. He hated disorder. His first thought was to tell Paul to throw her out, let her deal with her own problems, but then he looked at her again. She was shivering. She looked so small. A flicker of a feeling one he thought was dead stirred inside him. It was something like pity. He made a decision. It was not a kind decision. It was a practical one. He could not leave her here. "Get up," he said. Anya looked up, scared. "Get up," he repeated, his voice softer but still firm. "You cannot stay in the rain." He unlocked the giant gate. "Paul, take her suitcase." Anya stood up, her legs shaky. She followed him through the gate and up the long driveway to the biggest house she had ever seen. It was like a castle, but it felt cold and empty. He did not take her to the main door. He walked around the side of the house. There was a small stone cottage, covered in ivy. It was the old gardener's cottage. He unlocked it. Inside it was dusty but clean. There was a small bed, a table and a chair. A tiny kitchen and a bathroom. "You will stay here," Vittorio said. "You will not go into the main house. You will not bother me. In the morning, we will decide what to do with you." Anya just nodded, her eyes wide. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you so much." Vittorio left without another word. He went to his big, empty mansion. He poured a drink and tried to forget the girl with the sad eyes. The next morning, Anya woke up early. The rain had stopped. She looked out the window of the cottage. She saw the gardens. They were huge and once must have been beautiful. But now, they were a mess. Weeds were everywhere. The flowers were dead. The grass was long and yellow. It made her sad. She came from a poor village. but her mother had taught her to love growing things. A garden was a place of hope. She found an old pair of gloves and a small trowel in a shed. She did not know if it was allowed, but she started to work. She started on a small patch of soil near her cottage. She pulled out the weeds. She loosened the hard earth. Vittorio saw her from his window. He was annoyed. What was she doing? He went outside. "What is this?" he asked. Anya jumped. She stood up, wiping her dirty hands on her old dress. "I am sorry. The garden, it looked so sad. I thought I could help. I can stop." Vittorio looked at the small patch of clean earth. It looked better. He grunted. "Do what you want. Just stay out of my way." Days turned into weeks. Anya worked in the garden every day. She did not have much. So she found seeds from old flower heads. She planted them. She watered them. She talked to the plants. Vittorio watched her. He saw her quiet strength. She was not afraid of hard work. She was always calm. She never complained. One afternoon he found her looking at a rose bush. It was almost dead. "It just needs some food and water," she said softly, not to him, but to the plant. "You are still strong. I can feel it." Vittorio stood behind her. "You talk to plants." Anya turned around, but she did not flinch anymore. "Everything that lives needs to hear a kind word sometimes," she said. He almost laughed, but he didn't. He just walked away. A week later, he came outside while she was planting some new seeds. He stood for a while, watching. "Can I help?" The words were out of his mouth before he could stop them. Anya looked surprised. Then she smiled a small smile. "Yes, you can hold these seeds for me." So, Don Vittorio, the Reaper Moretti, a man who commanded fear and respect from powerful criminals, held a packet of flower seeds for a young woman. His large, strong hands, hands that had done terrible things, were gentle with the tiny seeds. He started to join her more often. At first, it was just for a few minutes. Then it became an hour. He learned how to dig a hole without hurting the roots. He learned how to water the plants just right. He found a strange peace in it. One day he was trimming a bush. A thorn cut his finger. A drop of blood fell onto the soil. Anya saw it. She quickly took his hand. "Let me see." "It is nothing," he said. But she held his hand. She looked at the cut. Her touch was warm and soft. It was the first time anyone had touched him without fear in a very long time. She cleaned the cut with a cloth from her pocket. "There," she said, "all better." Vittorio looked at his hand. Then he looked at her. He saw the kindness in her eyes. He saw that she was not plain at all. She was beautiful. The ice around his heart cracked a little more. "You are not like other people," he said. "You are not what I thought you would be," she replied. They looked at each other for a long moment. Something was growing between them, as silent and strong as the plants in the garden. But Vittorio's world was not a safe one. His men, like David and James, saw the change in their boss. They saw him in the garden with the girl. They were worried. A boss with a weakness is a dead boss. One night, Vittorio had a meeting with a rival, a man named Mark. The meeting was in his office. It was about territory. The talk became angry. Voices were raised. Anya was in the garden enjoying the evening air. She heard the shouting from the open window of Vittorio's office. She heard a loud crash like a broken glass. Without thinking, she ran towards the house. She ran to the office door and opened it. Inside, Vittorio and Mark were standing facing each other. Their faces were red with anger. Mark's bodyguard had a hand inside his jacket, ready to pull out a gun. Everyone turned to look at Anya. Vittorio's eyes widened. "Anya, get out!" he yelled. But Anya did not move. She looked at Mark. She looked calm. "Vittorio," she said, her voice steady. "Your friend would like some more coffee. His cup is empty." The room was silent. Her simple, calm words broke the tension. Mark looked from her to Vittorio. He saw the way Vittorio was looking at her. It was not the look of a man who just gave shelter to a stray. It was the look of a man in love. Mark slowly smiled. It was not a nice smile. "So this is the little gardener I have heard about," he said. "I see you have been busy, Vittorio." Vittorio's face became a cold mask. "The meeting is over. Get out." Mark and his bodyguard left. When the door closed, Vittorio turned to Anya. He was furious. "Never," he said, his voice low and dangerous, "ever come in here when I have business. Do you understand? That man is dangerous. You could have been hurt." "I heard the crash. I was worried about you," Anya said. "Worry about yourself," he shouted. "This is not your world. This is not a garden. This is life and death." Anya stood her ground. "I know," she said quietly. "I am not a child. I see the men with guns. I know what you are. But I am not afraid of you." Her words stunned him. He looked at her, and all his anger melted away. He was only left with a terrible fear. Fear for her. He walked to her and cupped her face in his hands. "You should be afraid, Anya. Not of me. For me. Because if anyone ever hurt you because of me, I would burn the whole world down." He kissed her then. It was a kiss full of all the words he could not say. It was a kiss of passion and fear and love. Anya kissed him back. She had fallen in love with the man in the garden, the man with the gentle hands, not the monster they called the Reaper. That night, everything changed. Anya moved from the cottage into the mansion. She slept in Vittorio's big bed, in his arms. He felt a happiness he never knew was possible. Weeks passed. The garden was now full of colour and life. Roses bloomed everywhere. Their love grew just as strong. But Mark had seen Vittorio's weakness, and he planned to use it. One sunny afternoon, Anya was cutting roses to put in a vase for the dinner table. Vittorio was in the city for a meeting. Paul was driving her. A black van pulled up to the gate. 2 men got out. They were not Vittorio's men. Anya looked up. She felt a chill. One of the men smiled at her. "Miss Anya, Mr. Mark sent us. He would like to talk to you about the garden. He wants your help." Anya knew it was a lie. She dropped the roses and turned to run back to the house. But it was too late. One of the men grabbed her arm. He was strong. He put a cloth over her mouth. It smelled strange. Her head spun. The world went black. When Vittorio came home, the house was quiet. He called for Anya. No answer. He found the basket of dropped roses by the gate. His blood ran cold. He ran into his office. He called David and James. "Find Paul," he ordered, his voice like thunder. They found Paul in the garage. He was tied up and had a bruise on his head. He woke up when they shook him. "Don Vittorio," he cried. "They took her. Men working for Mark. They took Anya." Vittorio's face became like stone. The Reaper was back. The man of ice was gone, replaced by pure, burning rage. "Get everyone," he told David. "We are going to war." David and James moved fast. Within minutes, the mansion was buzzing with activity. Hard-faced men in dark suits gathered in the main hall, checking their guns. The air was thick with tension. Vittorio stood before them. The kind man from the garden was gone. This was the Don. His eyes were cold fire. "Mark has taken something that is mine," he said, his voice low and cutting. "He has broken our agreement. He has shown disrespect, and he has made a fatal mistake." He looked at each of his men. "We end this tonight. No one touches what is mine." Just then, Vittorio's phone buzzed on his desk. A blocked number. He picked it up. "Vittorio," Mark's smug voice came through the speaker. "I believe I have something you've grown quite fond of." "Let her speak. Now," Vittorio commanded. There was a rustling sound. "Vittorio?" Anya's voice was shaky but clear. She was scared but not broken. "Are you hurt?" he asked, his knuckles white as he gripped the phone. "No, I'm okay." Mark came back on the line. "See, she's fine. For now. I want the docs. All of them. You will sign over your control to me. You have 2 hours. If you call the police, or if I see your men near my warehouse, you will never see your little gardener again." The line went dead. Vittorio put the phone down slowly. His men watched him, waiting for orders. "He wants the docs," Vittorio said. He thinks he can trade her for my empire. A dangerous smile touched his lips, but he does not understand. She is my empire now. David, do we have a location? David nodded. Paul heard one of them mention the old flour mill by the river, before they knocked him out. It's one of Mark's old places. Good. Vittorio walked to a large picture on the wall. It was a painting of his father. He swung it open, revealing a safe. Inside were several guns. He took out a sleek black pistol. He checked it and slid it into his shoulder holster. We go to the mill. James, you take 5 men to the meeting point at the docks. Make a show of it. Look like you're ready to deal. Keep his attention there. Yes, boss, James said and left quickly. The rest of you, with me, Vittorio said. We get her out. No mistakes. The old flour mill was dark and quiet. Anya sat on the dusty floor, her hands tied behind her back. One of Mark's men, a big guy named Leo, watched her from a chair by the door. Another man, a skinny one named Ricky, was pacing. Stop pacing, you're making me nervous, Leo grumbled. The Reaper is going to kill us, Ricky whined. We shouldn't have taken her. Mark pays well, shut up, Leo said. Anya stayed quiet. She was terrified, but she thought of Vittorio. She thought of his face in the garden, soft and peaceful. She held on to that image. It gave her strength. She looked around the room. There was a broken window high up. A pipe ran along the wall near her. If she could just get her hands free. She slowly moved her wrists back and forth against the rough rope. It hurt, but she kept doing it. She had to try. Vittorio and his men parked their cars a mile away from the mill. They moved through the woods on foot, silent as ghosts. They reached the edge of the trees. The mill stood by the river, looking abandoned. But Vittorio saw a faint light in a second-floor window, and one man standing guard outside the main door. Vittorio pointed at David, then at the guard. David nodded. He melted into the shadows, moving around the side of the building. A few minutes later, there was a soft thud. David appeared from the darkness and gave a thumbs up. The guard was down. Vittorio led the rest of his men inside. The place smelled of dust and old grain. They moved up the stairs, their footsteps making no sound. At the top of the stairs, they could hear voices from behind a door. He's not going to just give up the docks, Leo, Ricky was saying. Mark knows what he's doing. Now be quiet, Leo replied. Vittorio looked at his men. He held up 3 fingers. 2. 1. He kicked the door open. It happened in a flash. Leo jumped up, reaching for his gun. Vittorio didn't give him a chance. He fired twice. Bang! Bang! Leo fell to the floor. Ricky froze, his hands in the air. Don't shoot! Please! Vittorio's men rushed in and grabbed Ricky, disarming him. Vittorio's eyes found Anya. She was on the floor trying to get to her feet, her hands still tied. Her eyes were wide with relief and fear. He ran to her. He knelt down and gently turned her around. He pulled a knife from his pocket and cut the ropes from her wrists. Her skin was raw and bleeding a little from her struggles. He threw the ropes aside and pulled her into his arms. He held her tightly, his face buried in her hair. I'm sorry, he whispered, his voice rough with emotion. I'm so sorry, my love. I should have protected you better. Anya clung to him, shaking. I knew you would come, she whispered back. I knew it. He pulled back and looked at her face, wiping a tear from her cheek with his thumb. Did they hurt you? No, I'm okay. Just scared. Vittorio helped her stand up, keeping an arm around her. He turned to David, who was searching Leo's body. Is he dead? David nodded. Vittorio then looked at Ricky, who was being held by 2 of his men. Ricky was crying. Please, Don Vittorio, it was just a job. Mark made me do it. Where is Mark now? Vittorio asked, his voice like ice. He's at his club, the Diamond Club. He's waiting for your call about the docks. Vittorio nodded. He looked at Anya. Take her home, he told David. Take her to the mansion. Put 4 men on the house. No one gets in. No, Anya said firmly. Everyone looked at her. Vittorio was surprised. Anya, you need to be safe. I am safe with you, she said, looking straight into his eyes. I am not going back to that big empty house to wait and worry. Where you go, I go. My place is with you. Vittorio saw the determination in her face. He saw the same strength that had brought his garden back to life. He could not say no to her. All right, he said softly. But you stay in the car. You do not get out. No matter what. I promise, she said. Vittorio turned back to Ricky. You have one chance to live. You will take us to Mark. The Diamond Club was loud and bright. Music pumped through the room. Mark sat in a booth in the back drinking champagne with two of his men. He was smiling, waiting for the good news from the docks. He checked his watch. Vittorio was late to call. Maybe he was struggling to get the papers together. The thought made Mark happy. Then the music stopped. The talking died down. Mark looked up. Vittorio stood at the entrance to the main room. He was not alone. His men, David and James and others, fanned out behind him. And right beside Vittorio, her hand held firmly in his, was Anya. Mark's smile vanished. His face went pale. How? How was she here? Vittorio walked slowly towards Mark's booth. People moved out of his way quickly. The room was silent. Mark, Vittorio said, his voice calm but deadly. You invited my woman for a talk, but you forgot to invite me. That was rude. Mark stood up, trying to look brave. His two men stood with him, hands on their guns. This is a public place, Vittorio. You wouldn't start a war here. I am not starting a war, Vittorio said, stopping a few feet from the booth. I am ending one. He looked at Anya. Wait by the door, my love. Anya squeezed his hand and then let go. She walked back to stand with David near the entrance. She watched, her heart pounding. Vittorio turned back to Mark. You made two mistakes today, Mark. First, you thought you could take what is mine. Second, you thought I would trade my business for her. He took a step closer. But you see, she is worth more than all the docks, all the money, all the power in this city. She is everything. Mark laughed, a nervous sound. You've gone soft, Reaper. This girl has made you weak. Vittorio's smile was cold. No, she has made me strong. She has given me a reason to live. And now she has given me a reason to kill you. Mark's men drew their guns, but Vittorio was faster. He moved like lightning. Bang! He shot the man on the left in the shoulder. The man screamed and dropped his gun. Bang! He shot the man on the right in the hand. His gun clattered to the floor. Now it was just Mark. Mark fumbled for his own gun, but he was too slow. Vittorio was already in front of him. He grabbed Mark's wrist and twisted it hard. There was a cracking sound. Mark yelled in pain. The gun fell. Vittorio pushed Mark back into the booth. He put his own gun against Mark's forehead. Please, Mark begged, his eyes wide with terror. Don't. I'll give you anything. Everything I have. Vittorio leaned close. I already have everything I want, he whispered. Then he pulled the trigger. Bang! The sound was loud in the silent club. Mark slumped in the booth, his eyes staring at nothing. Vittorio lowered his gun. He looked around the room. No one moved, no one breathed. He walked back to Anya. She was pale, but she stood straight. She had seen the monster, the Reaper, and she was still there. He took her hand. It was warm. He led her out of the club, his men following behind them. No one tried to stop them. Outside, the night air was cool. Vittorio stopped and turned to Anya. He looked into her eyes, searching for fear, for disgust. He saw neither. He only saw love and relief. He was right, you know, Vittorio said quietly. I was weak before. I was cold and empty. You made me strong. You made me human again. Anya reached up and touched his face. I love the man you are, Vittorio. The man in the garden. The man who saved me. All of you. He kissed her there under the city lights, surrounded by his men. He had found his true love in his mansion, and he had fought a war to keep her. And he had won. They drove back to the mansion in silence. Anya sat close to Vittorio, her head on his shoulder. He held her hand tightly, his thumb rubbing gently over her raw wrist. The car was filled with a quiet peace. The war was over. When they arrived, the big iron gates swung open. The mansion was no longer a cold, empty castle. With Anya by his side, it felt like a home. He helped her out of the car. You need to rest, he he said, his voice soft. Only if you rest with me, she replied. He nodded. He led her inside, up the grand staircase, and into his, bedroom. He drew her a warm bath, adding the lavender-scented salts she loved. He waited outside the door, listening for any sound, his body still humming with the need to protect her. When she came out, wearing a soft nightgown, her skin clean and her hair damp, he felt a wave of relief, so strong it almost buckled his knees. She was safe. She was here. He took a quick shower himself, washing away the smell of gunpowder and the memory of the club. When he came out, she was already in bed, the covers pulled up to her chin. She looked small and young. He got into bed beside her and pulled her into his arms. She curled against his chest, her ear over his heart. I was so scared, she whispered into the dark. I know, he said, kissing her hair. I will never let anything happen to you again. I promise. I'm not scared for me, she said, lifting her head to look at him. I was scared for you. I was scared I would never see you again. I was scared you would get hurt because of me. Her words struck him deeply. No one had ever feared for him. They had only ever feared him. He held her closer. You are my life now, Anya. Nothing is more important than you. They fell asleep like that, tangled together, each one the other's shelter. The next morning the sun streamed into the room. Vittorio woke first. He watched Anya sleep, her face calm and peaceful. The events of the previous night felt like a bad dream, but the sight of her safe in his bed was the beautiful reality. He got up quietly and went to the window. He looked down at the garden, her garden. It was bursting with colour. The roses were in full bloom, red and pink and yellow. It was a world she had built, a world of life and beauty, right in the middle of his world of death. He knew what he had to do. When Anya woke, he was dressed and sitting on the edge of the bed, waiting for her. Good morning, she said, smiling sleepily. Good morning, my love, he said. He took her hand. I have something to ask you. She sat up, curious. This life, my life, it is not safe. It will never be completely safe. But I want to make it safer. For you. He took a deep breath. I am stepping down. Anya's eyes widened. What? Vittorio, no. This is your world. This is who you are. It was who I was. He corrected her gently. The Reaper is dead. You buried him and made a new man grow in his place. David is ready. He is smart and fair. The men respect him. I will guide him, but from a distance. I will be a consultant, not a king. Tears filled Anya's eyes. You would do that? For me? For us, he said firmly. I have more than enough money for 10 lifetimes. I don't want to spend the one lifetime I have looking over my shoulder. I want to spend it with you, in the garden, traveling the world, living. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small black velvet box. Anya's breath caught. He opened it. Inside was a simple, stunning diamond ring. It sparkled in the morning light. Anya, he said, his voice thick with emotion. You came into my life like a seed on the wind, and you grew into the most beautiful part of it. You brought me back to life. Will you marry me? Will you be my wife? Tears streamed down Anya's face, but she was smiling the biggest, happiest smile he had ever seen. Yes, she whispered. Yes, Vittorio. 1,000 times, yes. He slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. He kissed her, a kiss full of love and hope and a future he never dared to dream of. 6 months later, the mansion's garden was the setting for their wedding. It was a small, simple ceremony. David was his best man. A few of his most loyal men, like James and Paul, were there, all wearing suits and genuine smiles. Anya wore a simple white dress and carried a bouquet of roses she had grown herself. She walked down a path lined with blooming flowers towards Vittorio. He watched her come towards him, and his heart felt so full he thought it might burst. She was more beautiful than any flower, more precious than any empire. They said their vows under an arch covered in white roses. They promised to love and cherish each other for better, for worse, in sunshine and in shadow. When the priest pronounced them husband and wife, Vittorio kissed his bride. Their friends cheered. That night, under a sky full of stars, they danced in the garden. The lights twinkled around them, and the scent of roses filled the air. "I love you, Mrs. Moretti," Vittorio whispered in her ear. Anya leaned her head on his chest. "And I love you, Vittorio, my husband." The mansion was no longer a symbol of his cold power. It was a home filled with warmth and love. The Mafia boss had taken in his neighbour's abandoned bride, and in doing so, he had found his true love, his redemption, and his happy ending, right there in the home they had built together. Did this story make you believe in second chances? Let us know which part had you on the edge of your seat and where you're watching from. Subscribe for more stories where love conquers all, even the darkest of pasts. Your next obsession is just a click away.